What's going on, everyone? It's Caddy with Money Vesting. So the market's pushing higher on the day. I hope you guys are having a phenomenal start to your day. And we'll do this for maybe an hour and a half. We'll get the notepad going. We'll get the support resistance levels for a lot of the tickers. Go over SPY, QQQs. We've got two really important data that's coming out. Savi, what's going on? Good morning. We've got the PMI numbers, which is going to be producers, managers index, and we've got the housing numbers that's going to come out for the month of April. Brandon, what's going on? Greg, good morning. Happy to have you guys on board. And right now, QQQ is up over 25 basis points. We are seeing a little bit of a pullback here. Good morning, Blake. What's up? Just spoke to you literally 2 minutes ago. Thanks for joining. Julian, that's good morning. That's great. Let's go. So SPY up over 29 basis points, definitely pushing higher a little bit. So yeah, we're gonna break down two really important catalysts. Another one was basically the taxation from the administration, about 15% in global international taxation, slightly coming down from the earlier proposed close to 21%. And remember, this is the international taxation, not the domestic that they proposed. That's going to go up from corporate from 21 to 28%. We'll kind of see where we settle at. We also remember how Kathy Wood from ARK Invest mentioned that they believe that it's going to settle at around 25% for the domestic corporate tax rate. But the international, they've signaled at close to 15%. But we also have to remember that this is actually the floor, that they are basically the minimum taxation, right? It could be much higher. It's not that it's going to settle at 15%. But that's kind of like the proposed minimum taxation internationally is what they're proposing right now. So, all right, thank you so much for joining in. Good morning from Pennsylvania. The videos have been very educational. I'm glad. So we try to cover a more holistic view on the markets. We cover everything, so macros, fundamentals, and technicals. Those are three things that we cover on the channel. If you guys are interested in that, make sure that you guys subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate you guys' support. So let's take a look at this. So they've signaled it will accept a 15% global minimum tax on large multinational companies. The international talks aimed at increasing revenues from corporations that operate across borders. The U.S. plans for tax regime overhaul set out in April propose applying a new tax based on sales in each country to the global profits of the very largest companies, including the big U.S. technology groups. U.S. officials have been meeting negotiators from countries taking part in OECD talks this week to discuss what that minimum tax rate should be. And the administration has previously proposed a 21% according to the U.S. Treasury. Officials at the Treasury said that they would continue to advocate for global minimum tax at the highest rate possible, but the 15% should be the floor. So they're really not going to go below that level. So Ireland is one of those countries which charges one of the lowest corporate tax rates in Europe at 12.5%. And has said it will push for a global agreement on corporate taxation that accommodates its current low rate and allows quote-unquote healthy and fair tax competition. Responding to the U.S. move, France's economy minister Bruno said on Friday that the 15% minimum rate was the basis of a quote-unquote good compromise. And the White House has also proposed raising the domestic corporate tax rate from 21% to 28%. So, of course, taxes kind of hit the bottom line for a lot of companies. The EPS, the earnings per share that we look at, that's going to be a big deal. And, of course, a lot of the growth is priced in based on EPS growth, based on the bottom line number that we look at for the companies. So, of course, taxes, the more the government is taking out of the piece of the pie here for companies, that's going to drive a lower EPS, of course, right? That's why a corporate tax rate of 21 to 28% was kind of like the spookiness that we saw in the markets, a couple of weeks back, when we saw a significant sell-off. And then, of course, when you pile on inflation fears, you pile on a lot more than that, then there's a rotation, there's a complete macro broader market sell-off. But that being said, we've got the existing home sales that's going to be coming out. The consensus is going to be 6.085 million annual rate. We'll see what the actuals look like, and it's going to be for the month of April 2021. And then other than that, we don't have much going on the calendar. We had the FOMC meeting notes that I'm going to break down very quickly. There wasn't any substantial changes from the prior meeting that we had in March from the FOMC, from the Federal Reserve. But in June, between June and 12th and 13th, we're going to have the other FOMC meeting. I think it happens 10 times a year. Let me actually go over and look at that. So FOMC meetings, so meeting calendars, information. So yeah, so we had one in January, we had one in March, 16 and 17. We had one in 27 and 28. So the meetings actually is going to be the notes from that were released May 19, 2021, were from the month of April. And the next meeting is going to be in June. So June is actually going to be a very, very exciting month because not only we have the FOMC meeting, we also have the new CPI inflation data that's going to come out. We've got the unemployment numbers that's going to come out on the first Friday of the month. So that's going to be on June 4th. So a lot of that is going to be very, very interesting moving forward. So again, thank you so much for joining in. Do you teach technical analysis? If not, who do you recommend? That's a great question. I have a playlist on the YouTube channel. It's absolutely free. I've got 10 different videos, step by step on technical analysis. In fact, I started creating another sort of tutorials that I'm working on right now on TradingView, on fundamental analysis, technical analysis, and Pine Script. Those are 4 things that I'm working on right now. They'll probably be finished by the end of this year. It's gonna be a long time, but I want to really be thorough and put in a lot of research and time into it. It'll be step-by-step complete breakdowns of a TradingView, which is the platform that I use over here. It'll help you create your own indices, different sector indices. It'll help you code and backtest your own strategy. There's a lot that I haven't really gone over on TradingView just yet, and then it'll cover fundamental, technical analysis, and a lot of different things. So shout out to Turkey. Thank you so much for joining in. Shout out to Pennsylvania, Scranton. That's awesome. Thank you for joining. So a lot of stocks that are green right now. Let's take a look at pre-market. So we got Virgin Galactic, ticker symbol SPEE, that's up almost 3% pre-market. Ticker symbol AI, which is going to be C3 AI, pushing higher a little bit, up over 1.6. Boeing's up over 2%, trading back over $230. And this right here, Boeing to boost 737 MAX production next year, came out 3 minutes ago. That could be one of the catalysts that's driving Boeing even higher. And earlier on the day, I looked at it. It wasn't pushing up. So you'll notice that on the 1 minute chart, we have actually seen the surge coming in from like 8:30 a.m. Eastern from Boeing, right? So definitely, Boeing aims to hit 737 Max output of 26% or 26 per month by end of 2021, and reach official target of 31 per month in March. That really goes to show that they are seeing strong visibility and stronger and greater demand for their 737 Max. Of course, it's been grounded for a really long time on concerns about the safety, but now it's starting to push up in production, and close to 31 as a target per month is what they're going to be hoping for. And on that news, it's now up over 2%. So this right here, very quick read on the Boeing 737 Max. Actually, let me go ahead and remove this. So implementation of the plan will depend on demand, the health of suppliers, and Boeing's success in reducing surplus of jets already built. Boeing declined comment on Reuters' story and pointed to last month's being declined comment Reuters pointed last month's guidance when it reaffirms plan to rise max output from unspecified low rate to 31 per month by early 2022. So that could be one of the catalysts driving Boeing higher. Fiverr's up over 2%. We got Enphase Energy. This stock actually moved up so quickly. It didn't even stay down to like $110, $120 levels. It really pushed up. I mean, the low for this candle on May 13th was $112. Came down as low as $108 before pushing back up to $141. So definitely saw a little bit of a push higher, and right now we're just kind of testing our 50 EMA. That's going to be the line in yellow. Sean, what's going on? Welcome. So we've got about 147 people watching. It really helps out if you guys drop that like button. It really helps out with the YouTube algorithm and pushes out this stream to other people. So I really appreciate your guys' support. So the broader markets, the entire market is green. So that's good, right? So that this is basically a bounce higher from the last several days of being red for tech and growth in some of those companies. A lot of the stocks that we are going to go over, like AMD and Square, are bouncing off the exact support levels, at close to 200 for Square, $74 for AMD. So we're seeing those bounces higher. And of course, the RSI, the MACD, those technical indicators do suggest that there's more upside to come, and if we can see a follow through and a continuation from those patterns. So NIO will explode. I have 60 shares going to the moon. That's awesome. Congratulations. It's great. Yeah, so NIO, long-term thesis remains unchanged. They are doing everything that they can, and I am putting in a lot of research and analysis into NIO. We learned about how China's economic planner is also pushing towards the infrastructure for power swap stations, battery swap stations across China, and how they're going to be investing heavily in the infrastructure for that. They also laid out kind of like safety regulations and standards for battery as a service or battery swapping models, which only creates a lot of friction, right? And by 2025, there were also projections that that market is going to balloon up to close to about 100 billion wons, or close to 15 billion US dollars. And if there's fewer and fewer players in that market, that only bodes well for companies that are already existing and selling battery swapping services, or battery as a service model in China. And NIO is among the very few that actually does that. I can't even remember. I think it was like Beijing electric vehicle company or a Geely that actually does also offer. I could be wrong, but Geely was another company in China that offers battery swapping services. But nonetheless, NIO, the projections, the fundamentals are very unchanged. I still see it being a triple-digit company in the future. It's just that we need to be very patient in this macro environment. And same goes with Palantir. Same goes with a lot of those growth and tech names that have been kind of down in 2021. But it's just about a patient game that we need to kind of accumulate more and more of these tech and growth names, right? Because they are the future. They are continuing to innovate and do well moving forward. Morning, everyone. We thinking green or red today? Jason asks, great question. Let's answer that in the live comments. What do you guys think? Red or green? We'll start our notepad here in just about a couple minutes, but let me know what you guys think. What evidence is there for a bull trap? So for it to be a bull trap, it has to be in a downtrending channel, and we're making some type of a push higher, meaning that we're not, well, there's a couple tells. The first one is going to be lower volume. So if you're seeing very, very low volumes for any specific stock or index that you're looking at, that in itself could be, less like lower and lower institutional buying on the green day that we're seeing. So volume is one of the biggest tells for it to be a bull trap. The second thing is, what is the overall trend of the market, right? Whether we're in an uptrend market or a downtrending market, and for those individual stocks as well. So that's kind of like a couple things that I personally look at, trying to understand, whether this is like a confirmed uptrend or trend reversal, or if we're going to see some more downtrend. So Decat bounce, green day, red day. Rita says, good morning, Rita. Red, green, red. So it's kind of like a mixed bag. Let's take a look at the SPY and the QQQs. So a huge surge on the Nasdaq. I'm not sure what happened, but definitely pushing up to 330, up over 45 basis points. Let's listen on this very quickly, right? So we can get a good feel for the markets here very quickly.
The last week that are an interesting intersection. The first are the Fed minutes. They explicitly put in there a discussion on tapering large-scale asset purchases, contrary to everything they've said publicly. So they put that in there for a reason, to begin the dialogue. Secondly, you go back to one of Alan Greenspan's favorite indicators of inflationary pressures, vendor deliveries. When you look at the subcomponent of the Philly Fed index on vendor deliveries, it's registered its all-time high going back to 1968, and then something Mohammed referenced. You start looking at wages. And a couple weeks ago it was McDonald's, Chipotle. What was it this week? It was Bank America. Minimum wages are going up. That's becoming embedded. And those are the kinds of things that employers need to do to attract workers going forward. All of those are inflationary pressures, so the Fed is right to start the conversation now.
I've got an economist next to me called Michael McKee who started laughing when you said we're grown-ups, because, Mohammed, many times the Federal Reserve has treated the market as if it's a toddler, and the market in many occasions has behaved like a toddler, which makes me ask you the question, Mohammed, how you think the market will respond to the taper discussion deeper into summer?
So I think it depends when they engage on it. If they engage on it now, I think it will be minimal effects. The longer they wait, the more the market is going to worry that they're going to have to accelerate some sense of normalization. and then the market will worry. Look, John, there is a history here. We know when the Fed gets behind, the likelihood of we ending up in a recession is very, very high. So that's why it's better to embark on it now. There's enough evidence. And I want to stress, this doesn't mean you downplay the 8 million people who still haven't gotten back in the labor force. We all want them back. But it's not a demand issue. It's a supply issue. And the Fed cannot alter the supply dynamics by simply keeping monetary policy too loose.
Bob, your worries, the mid-2000s, the mid-90s. It's kind of what Mohammed's alluding to here, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I said that, maybe I'm scarred by the 94 experience, because going into the tightening cycle in 94, where they raised rates 7 times by 300 basis points over 12 months. So they went from 3% to 6%. Going into that period, they were looking at GDP that was printing 4 to 5.5%. They were looking at core personal consumption expenditures that were printing north of 2.5%. And they just ignored it because they wanted to make sure that the economy had recovered from the S&L crisis. And of course, we now know that excess liquidity bubbled up in places like long-term capital and then ultimately into the dot-com bubble. They need to move now.
Mike McKee alongside me this morning. Guys, let's turn to Mike McKee right now. Morning, Mike.
Good morning, John. Well, in terms of policy, it is all about inflation for the Fed. Their bet is that they can be lower for longer because they think, temporary. Can I say temporary instead of transitory?
You can
or
use a different
inflation, change
word,
the dialogue a little
means.
bit. And the markets are kind of giving it a sideways glance at the moment. You're talking about volatility, but you take a look at what's happening in the markets. And equity volatility has gone up a little bit in the past week as we've gotten this various information that Mohammed and Bob were talking about. But you look at bond market volatility, it's been falling. The bond markets have bought the Fed's idea at this point.
So history is so important in times like these to really get a good hold of how the unemployment, the GDP growth, and of course the labor market, the taxation, interest rate all played out in the past. So that's kind of like what I will be doing over the weekend, is like going over all these different macro indicators to get a good understanding of what we can expect from the Fed moving forward, right? Because tapering is not about tightening. Tapering is simply pulling back on the existing support that they've provided to the economy, right? With the bond purchasing program, close to $120 billion per month. But tightening is a little bit different, right? Tightening is Fed going on the offense and basically starting to raise rates a little bit. That's going to drive equities slightly lower because that's been kind of like the norm, because that drives higher multiple growth stocks lower because that's the risk-free rate that a lot of investors, analysts use in their DCF model, right? To calculate discounted cash flows, future cash flows, bringing them to present value. So tapering, right now we're still in the discussion of tapering, right? Whether that's going to happen or not. So, all right, let's take a look at some of those stocks here very quickly. So Square is up over 1.5%, trading back over $208. If you take a look at NEO, I think NEO is over $34.75, so it's up over 1.2%. Still, the bullish thesis remains over the fundamental, the underlying business bullish thesis. The stock, of course, has been beaten down aggressively from its all-time highs. But that being said, $34 is going to be the support level that we're going to be watching for Square. So let's go ahead and start that notepad very quickly. We're going to go with NEO first. And we're going to talk about Tesla. We'll talk about Square. We'll talk about Apple, AMD, Amazon. What other tickers? So I need more tickers to add to the list so we can go over it one by one very quickly. We'll spend a couple of minutes, talk about the technicals, mention some support resistance levels to watch on the day. And then move over to the data that's coming out around 10 a.m. Eastern as well. So we need that Amazon stock split. Harry, happy Friday. Yep, it's finally Friday. I've got my green tea in a green cup in hopes of a green market. We'll see if that actually does come true. So, all right, Roku is a good one. We'll add that to the list. We're going to add Mara and Riot. I'm definitely, for Mara, definitely considering a position there because Bitcoin value has come down so much. All right, let's take a look at BNGO and Skills. All right, we'll cover these very quickly, and then we'll kind of circle back to more tickers. But for the most part, Neo needs to hold up over $34, right? That right there is going to be a more near-term support that we're going to be watching. If you do see some more continuation, then keep a close eye at these moving averages, right? So right now sitting at 35.89 for the 21 EMA. The 50 EMA sits at just about 38.85. So $40, that right there is going to be a resistance to watch for Neo. So we'll kind of put that on the notepad. So support sits at 34. And resistance is going to stay put at $40. There's going to be some kind of aligned with those moving averages, but I'm not going to put that on there because it changes every time you develop a new price, right? So because this is taking into account 21 exponential moving prices, it calculates the averages for that. And the 50 EMA also takes into account the 50 days worth of prices and calculates the exponential prices. Rita says, love the green mug idea. Yeah, so red on red days and green on green days. Hopefully I don't have to have more green teas on a red cup moving forward. All right, so next up we're going to talk about Tesla. Ticker symbol TSLA, up over 1.44%. Tesla, by the way, also Elon Musk tweeted that he's looking into his next potential production hub or a gigafactory in Russia. So that was something that I think he tweeted pre-market. Not sure exactly when that was, but that was a catalyst that's pushing Tesla stock higher pre-market. 590, we're breaking out over 590, so that's good, right? So I'll go ahead and turn this level into a support. So doing that right now, and this is the level that Tesla needs to kind of hold up above. If we open over 590, which in my opinion we probably will, with just about 17 minutes till the open. So $590 support, that's the level that we need to watch, and 620 was it? So let me actually open up my white chart very quickly. Twilio, John, that's a great one. I'll cover that as well. I'll break that down shortly. Twilio, I also put out a video on some of those cybersecurity stocks like Palantir, CrowdStrike, and Twilio yesterday. So, more than welcome to watch that video as well. So $620 is going to be the next resistance. Of course, beyond 590, which we are right now as the time of this live stream, we are breaking out over. So support 590 that it needs to kind of hold up, resistance 620 that it needs to break out over intraday. We'll see if that actually does happen. Next up, we got Square. Square also needs to kind of hold up above 200. That's an area of demand. We came almost perfectly down to 190, 195, those levels that we have tested now once, twice, 3 times before kind of bouncing higher. 215 remains our resistance. One thing I will point out is that a lot of the RSI, the MACD for a lot of these tech names have been very, very oversold. So it only makes sense why we're seeing a bit of a bounce here, right? So the RSI came all the way down to 30. The MACD was aggressively selling off as well. So it only makes sense why we are seeing a bit of a recovery here for a lot of these stocks. The only thing that we need to focus on now is a breakout over the next resistance or breakout over those moving averages. So once we break out over the 21 EMA, the 50 EMA, Square will potentially go back into this uptrending channel, and then we can start making some higher highs and higher lows for Square. So keep a close eye at 200 support, and resistance is going to stay put at 215 for Square moving forward. Apple was also pushing higher pre-market, so that's good. 127 will kind of turn this, we turned this level into a support yesterday in our daily market update, but right now you'll notice that we're just literally at those moving averages, right? The 21 EMA, the 50 EMA, we are kind of testing the high from yesterday. The high from yesterday was 127.72, and we're trading as high as 127.76. So that right there is going to be the level that we need to see a breakout over. I'll go ahead and create an alert. The moving averages all the way as high as 132 is going to be the next resistance for Apple that we need to watch. So support at 127 intraday, and resistance is going to stay put at close to 128. Let's put it at 128 all the way as high as 132. All right, let's take a look at AMD. That's going to be Advanced Micro Devices. And Advanced Micro Devices also pushing higher off of $74, right? So we were expecting some type of a breakdown from the head and shoulders pattern. Fortunately, that did not come through. And again, this is a validated support for AMD, not once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. We've kind of validated that support. So it's no surprise that a lot of analysts, traders, investors are watching that level very closely for AMD. And if we did break down below this level, it would have been really bad for advanced micro devices from a technical standpoint, only because the next support sits at $59, $60, although I don't personally see it going all the way down to that level. Maybe we find some buyers at $65, $70 per share, but nonetheless, 74 acting as a support right now. And again, the RSI, the MACD was very oversold, so we are seeing a little bit of a bounce higher from those levels. So the 21 EMA, we are breaking out over that level. The next resistance to watch is going to be 79.81, kind of aligned with that 50 exponential moving average, all the way as high as $84. So support level to watch for AMD sits perfectly at 74. Resistance sits at $80, all the way as high as 84. All right, let's take a look at Amazon. Are you feeling better? I am. Fortunately, I didn't have a fever after the vaccination, but feeling a lot better now. Thanks for asking, Rita. Really appreciate that. So for Amazon, right now breaking out over 32.55. Yesterday we were just shy of that resistance at 32.50. So that right there, the moving averages are going to be the levels to watch. So 32.50, I'll kind of keep that as a resistance just yet, because Amazon has also been kind of like a shaky price action stock because of the price that it trades at, and the volume is like incredibly low. So 2.6 million. So there's not a lot of volume for the stock, so we always have these huge spreads between the bids and the asks. So right now you'll notice 32.53, 32.56. There's a $3 spread for Amazon, which makes sense because it's a higher ticket stock. But I'll keep that 32.50 as a resistance just yet. That's the level that we need to see a breakout over for Amazon intraday. And the support again is going to be unchanged at 3,090, close to 3,100 levels. So support at 3,090 for Amazon, and we'll keep that resistance intact at 3,250 for us to see if we can get a successful breakout intraday. All right, so let's take a look at Roku. Take a look at ROKU, and Roku is also a stock that we did cover in one of our previous videos. We were forming some type of lower highs and lower lows, and we started to go sideways, so we were consolidating in this pattern in between this range. Support level to watch for Roku is going to be sitting roughly at 317. That's a level that we have previously kind of validated support here. We did get a breakdown below that level prior to the earnings, or after the earnings rather. We came all the way down to lows of 272 before pushing higher. So 317 support, and this right here 377, 375 is going to be the next resistance. And of course, talking about the moving averages, the 50 EMA at 342, we need to get a breakout over that level for us to see some more upside, right? And after the sell-off, the RSI, the MACD became incredibly oversold, and right now we are seeing a bit of a push higher from those levels. So I'll keep that intact for Roku at close to 317 support, and resistance sits at 375 moving forward. All right, let's take a look at Mara. So Mara is up over 1.4% pre-market. Yesterday was kind of like a weird price action. It was up all the way to highs of 24.47 or 24.27. It was up like I think 8 or 9%, or I think 11% on the day. And then a lot of sellers basically stepped us down all the way to lows of 21.89. So, all right, we're going to add TSM to the list as well. Kind of follow up on that one. LAZR, we'll add that to the list. So for Mara, 20 to 30, that right there is going to be a resistance to watch. And I do want to mention, like, for these that are very highly derived with an underlying index or another asset class, for this case, Mara, basically trading off of Bitcoin, the support resistance levels are great, pointers or basically reference points to look at, but a lot of the price really depends on, what the underlying is doing. In this case, what Bitcoin prices are doing, that's what's going to drive the prices for Marathon and Riot, for so to speak, right? And that's the same thing with we've got with ETFs and indices, because those are also being driven by the underlying stocks as opposed to like the actual buying and selling and demand and supply for those individual stocks. So keep a close eye. $20 support, $28 resistance for Marathon. So we'll keep that intact. All right, so next up, we're going to quickly go over BNGO and skills. So for Riot, we'll keep a close eye at this support at close to 1730. And there's also seems to be some level that we are kind of validating at close to $20, similar to Mara. So that right there is going to be a near-term support. And the resistance is going to stay put at 2982. So that right there is going to be the level close to 2975, 2980 levels, previous resistance here. And that's also going to be potentially aligned with those moving averages. So the 21 EMA, I could see that being aligned with that resistance once we develop more price points, and it kind of will potentially come down as well. So support levels, there's going to be two of them for Riot. Support at close to 1730. Support at 20, and resistance is going to stay put at 2975. And again, this whole list will be provided to everybody on our Discord, so you guys are more than welcome to check that out. It's a free Discord. The link should be down in the description below. If not, it should be on the channel page. Michael, I'm not from Toronto, I'm from India. That's where I'm at right now. Nicholas, thank you so much. Thanks for dropping that like button. Really helps out the channel in a tremendous way. And Jason, appreciate it. Dave, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Your guys' support. You guys are awesome. All right, so next up we're going to go over BNGO, which is actually on a different chart. So let me see if I can pull that up. By the way, I wanted to go over this chart very quickly. This is the 1 year. Actually, let's go over to year to date. So year to date chart for different asset classes. So I had the 10-year yields up over 78%, of course, coming in from less than a 1 percentage point to now well over 1.6. So they've seen quite a bit of a rally here in the bond market. Of course, that's been as a result of bond prices coming down and the yields pushing higher. So Bitcoin and Ethereum, right before this sell-off, they were up close to over 108% year to date. And look at the sharp decline, right? This right here is a sharp decline in pink for Bitcoin and Ethereum. We're still up year to date, up over 41%, but just the volatility is crazy for cryptos. Energy, financials still continuing to kind of slowly and steadily make their way up. They're up over 27%, 37% respectively year to date. SPY is up over 12%, handsomely outperforming, almost double the returns of the NASDAQ, which is the QQQ index, up over 6% year to date. Gold and silver have also creeped up quite a bit. They were actually down over 19, almost 20% at one point year to date, and they've actually pushed up to now being down just about 3.27%. This could be as a result of inflation feeders, which is very normal, right? In the past, we've seen gold and silver also being a hedge against inflation, so we are seeing a little bit of a jump here for some of those precious metals. But of course, if you look at the EV sector and some of those smaller cap growth, hyper growth names like BNGO, MP Materials, NNDM, Plug Power, they're down a little bit over 16%. But let's take a look at the EV sector, right? That's still down substantially year to date. When you look at NIO, Tesla, XPeng, BYD, Fisker, ChargePoint, down about 23% collectively year to date. So this just goes to show how we're seeing a bit of a rotation. So Apple crossing over 128, that's the alert that we just created earlier in the live stream, just went off. So that's good. But we're just seeing a rotation over to more risk-off environment where people don't want to take as much risk. Bitcoin and cryptos were some type of an anomaly going into 2021. But that has changed a little bit since, a couple days ago when we've seen a significant sell-off. I still strongly believe, like, over the long term, validity and application of cryptos. It's just that it's too volatile in nature at the moment, where we can see these kind of 50%, 60% drops and just kind of shrug them off, and it kind of goes back up, without any issues. So that's the only thing with the broader markets. Like for SPY and QQQ to be down about 40 or 50%, like there's no way you won't see like the Federal Reserve kind of stepping in and kind of acting as some type of a floor for the markets. But again, with cryptos being non-regulated, that definitely acts to more risk and more volatility in that market. All right, so back to our analysis on different things. So let me see if I have it over here. So BNGO, this right here was the complete analysis. We're still trading in this downtrending channel, right? So for the last few days since earnings, we have definitely pushed up over 40%. Let me see if I can find anything about their earnings here. All right, so Biogenomics narrow Q1 loss as revenue rises, sees milestone on track, stock jumps 9% after hours. So Thursday narrowed its net loss to just shy of $10 million from $10.51 million a year earlier, against the average estimate of close to $12.12 million. So beat on earnings. Revenue grew to $3.17 million from $1.14, so that's going to be a little bit over 150% increase year over year, exceeding the $2.97 million estimate. So beating estimate there too. So top line revenue estimate for Biogenomics and bottom line earnings, not the EPS, but the net income number, they also beat. So double beat there. And the genome analysis company said at all 2020 milestones, the planned commercial release of, I'm not sure how to say that word, but expansion of the menu of pediatric assays in Q3 interim publications research results from the clinical study in Q4 are on track. So for a lot of these biotech names, you have to be very careful. You have to really do the research and understand the underlying business because of the lack of understanding in this industry, right? So even ARK Invest, I remember they invested in this company called Arcturus Therapeutics, and we've kind of covered this company in the past as well. And they basically, you know, had this dose of vaccine, which they mentioned it's only going to be a single dose, and then, you know, that wasn't true, and then the stock dropped like 60%, like in a given day. So with biotech, you have to be very careful with what you're investing in, and you really understand the product, the premise of the fundamental business, the FDA approvals, so on and so forth. So that to me is very, very important when investing in biotech companies. But that being said, you know, support level to watch at $5, $7.50 is the resistance. We're still kind of hovering in between that range, and for us to see a successful breakout, you know, outside of this downtrending channel, considering that the RSI also bounced off these lows from lows of 29, pushed up to 45, so more so towards those neutral ranges, we need to see a breakout over 750, right? So that's going to put us in an uptrending channel, so we can make some higher highs and higher lows. So that's going to stay intact at support $5, resistance at 750. All right, skills. So this right here was the complete breakdown. So Michael, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So Element says portfolio was up 25% and now down 10%, lost about 35% of the portfolio value. Tesla, Square, Nvidia still holding. Hopefully it will recover. Yeah, Tesla, Square, Nvidia, those are like three phenomenal companies, like in my opinion. And again, you guys are more than welcome to kind of chime in as well on the live chat. But those, in my opinion, not only will more than recover, but they will kind of surpass, you know, beyond their all-time highs. In my opinion, it's just a matter of time. And this 2021, of course, is a different market. All right, so we just opened. Let's go over to SPY and QQQs here. So we are up over 45 basis points for the S&P 500. QQQs up over 0.5%. And this right here is going to be the volatility, which is down a little bit over 1%. So we are just at 20.4 levels. Coming down below 24.5. That was kind of like the level that we tested a couple days ago. Lightspeed is a good system. Please check LSPD. Mark, I'll do that. I'll definitely do that and go over that as well. All right, let's listen on this very quickly.
Rally, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Tesla, all higher. This, of course, as yields are down slightly, taking away those valuation concerns. Interestingly, though, we also have the reflation trade working. Energy is up for the first time in 4 days in sympathy with oil. So you have some of the big energy names climbing higher, and banks as well. Even though yields are down a little bit, you have banks climbing as well. So big tech, energy, Banks all higher, John, adds up to a risk-on day.
Abby, thank you. 60, 70 seconds into the session, we look like this on the S&P 500, up by 0.4%. Energy snapping back up a little more than 1%. Real estate, bottom of the pile, down 0.1%. That's the broader story for the equity market. Elsewhere, crypto, been a big story for you through the week. Bitcoin finding its footing as it limps into the weekend with a second consecutive week of big declines on the table here. The Treasury delivering the latest blow to crypto markets, announcing transfers over $10,000 will need to be reported to the IRS. For more, here's Bloomberg's Kaylee Lyons. Hey, Kaylee.
Hey, John. Well, we know the Biden administration has been looking to crack down on taxes, and lo and behold, cryptocurrencies don't seem like they're going to be immune to that. As you said, the IRS proposing applying to these rules to transfers over $10,000. So essentially the same rule that applies to cash transfers. And the Treasury and IRS said that this will minimize incentivizing a shift in income. And it also warned about cryptocurrencies posing a significant detection problem by facilitating illegal activity, including tax evasion. So add the IRS onto a laundry list of potential headwinds and negative catalysts we've seen for Bitcoin over the last several weeks. You also have the constant Twitter musings of Elon Musk, his U-turn on allowing Bitcoin as a payment for Tesla, the PBOC warning on cryptocurrencies, and really just a broader deleveraging we have seen. So yes, Bitcoin has stabilized above the 41,000 level now, but that's after falling as low as $30,000 at one point on Wednesday. And of course, it is down by the better part of 30% over just the last 10 days. So that is a lot of volatility, a roller coaster ride to the downside for an asset that many have been trying to claim can serve as a portfolio hedge, maybe throwing a little bit of cold water on the thesis that this can do a good job of protecting you against inflation, or that it can do a better job in that effort than gold can. I would just point anyone making that argument to this chart here at GTV Go. Shows us the 60-day volatility of Bitcoin. That is in yellow. It's now at a 64 handle. Obviously, it's creeping up. Gold volatility, on the other hand, going down, John.
Kaylee Lyons, thank you very much. What a story for me through the week is just how well priced things are right now. The demand hopes and the supply worries.
So yeah, I mean, cryptos more specifically had an accelerated sell-off because of a lot of leveraged positions. So the only reason why we saw a massive candle, and by the way, this right here was the complete breakdown for Bitcoin, right? We broke down below 42,000, which I need to turn into a resistance right now. That right there was a support that we were kind of validating for some time. Again, previous resistance, backtested support. We were kind of hovering around that support, and then just a massive amount of accelerated selling, which we live streamed live as it continues to kind of slide. And 30,000, we pinpointed like all the way down to that level right on the dot. So the low for the candle, according to TradingView, was $30,000. I know that Webull is showing a different low. Robinhood was showing like a different low of day. Not really sure exactly which one's right or wrong, but nonetheless, we came all the way down to just under 30,000, close to $30,000 before pushing higher, right? And right now we're just back testing that old resistance once again. So 42,000 is going to be kind of like the level that we need to break out over. And you'll notice a high for the day today, 42,200. So old support we broke down, we're back testing that as a new resistance potentially, and that's a level that I'd be watching very closely for us to see a breakout over, and then potentially make a recovery back up to 47, 53,000. Those right there are going to be some levels to watch. So in the near term, if you go over to some shorter time frames, you'll notice that on the 4-hour chart, there's also going to be some support at here at close to 36,200. So that right there is going to be the support for Bitcoin that we can watch. So support is going to stay put at 32 or close to 36,200, and the resistance is going to be at close to 42,200 for Bitcoin. For Ethereum, it was also this right here was a complete technical breakdown. Didn't expect a breakdown all the way down to lows of 1850. But we did come down all the way to those lows, and that right there, of course, previous support at close to 1900 here, previous resistance that we have also validated at close to 1875. So that right there is going to be kind of like the bottom for Ethereum, and then of course another support sitting at roughly 2600. Previous resistance here that we got validated, sold off, broke out, and that right there we're kind of hovering around that level for Ethereum. We'll kind of pull up the 1 minute charts on everything else in just a second, but for Ethereum, keep a close eye at a support of 18 or close to 2600, and the resistance is going to stay put at 3200 for Ethereum, right? That's going to be the level turned back into a resistance for this coin. And again, a lot of the selling pressure came in because of the leverage that was in the system for cryptocurrencies. All right, so let's pull up the 1 minute charts here for these stocks. So S&P, look at that. Look at the divergence between the SPY and the QQQs, right? We're seeing a massive divergence there for the NASDAQ continuing to push up, or the S&P 500, excuse me, continue to push up over 0.5%, and the NASDAQ is coming down after the open. So let's take a look at some of the energy stocks. So oil price is up over 2%. So we've got Brent crude oil up over 2%, trading over $66 a barrel. And crude oil is also up over 2.5%, which is also obviously driving energy stocks, Chevron, Exxon higher. Banking is up, so the entire banking sector. If you take a look at some of the growth sector here. So CrowdStrike is up over 2.5%. We've got CVS is up over 1%. We've got Trade Desk is also up. Take-Two Interactive, Corsair Gaming, Redfin. All right, so we're seeing a little bit of a mixed day, at least at the open, and a lot of the stocks that were green are now pulling back a little bit. So Nvidia is up over 4%, back over $600 per share. Look at that. That is incredible. Square is up over 71 basis points, so we are seeing a little bit of a pullback from $208. So yeah, we're seeing more red right now than we are seeing green, and the reason is, and of course, you know, some stocks that were up a lot more, they are slightly down. Because like Square was up over 1.5%. Let's take a look at NEO and Tesla. Tesla is only up 32 basis points, right? So we're back under $590. We're trading as $588. Just look at the divergence between the SPY and the QQQs. Like, this is incredible. And how the SPY continues to push higher while we're seeing red candles for the QQQs, and it just continues to come down, right? So they saw a segment on CNBC where they argued that Bitcoin is a giant pyramid scheme. What is your opinion about that? Well, that's what they want you to believe. I strongly think that it's not. I mean, it's just decentralized finance. It's just a currency that's created with a limited supply that doesn't have an inflationary pressure that you can't just go out and print more and more of in the future. That's going to drive the value of it lower. And of course, like with cryptocurrencies, I feel like everything has a different utility and a use case, and it's still in a premature phase, right? We have to still understand what it can be in the future and how it kind of fits in the financial system. I would, prefer a little bit of regulation only because of just so many kind of like scams that are going on. You'll see it often on YouTube as well. There's a lot of live streams that are running, just like ARK Invest or Elon Musk or somebody speaking on live, and they'll have a link where if you and they're also like on Twitter too, like where they put something like, we're sending out 5,000 Bitcoins, if you send it at these address, we'll kind of send you the double of that amount. So please don't fall for any of these. Also don't fall for any of the comments that are down, on various YouTube channels where people are impersonating other creators, where you have to like send messages or calls to a WhatsApp number. So that basically shines negative light on cryptocurrencies, but I still strongly believe like those are serious projects that have a lot of potential in the future, and we're still kind of figuring out where they fit in the financial system. Brian says my heart is bleeding. Why is that? So NEO is down about 1% almost. All right, so we're gonna go over to this chart. Pull up a lot of different stocks here. All right, so we'll put Tesla on this, and of course we're seeing a little bit of a pullback here, but we're still right around 590, right? That's the level that I've that we've talked about that we need to see a breakout over, and we'll go over NEO, which is pulling back, of course, no doubt about that. 34 is the level that we need to kind of hold up, and we'll see if that actually do. And then this right here, we'll put Apple, and we'll put Palantir. Where's Palantir? Pretty much flat on the day. So Tesla just shy of 590. That's the level that we need to see breakout over once again, and for Tesla to kind of hold above that level. And of course, Palantir is coming down below $21, so we slightly tested 21. Apple tested exactly 128 on the day. We're seeing a little bit of a pullback here, and a NEO, of course, is trading below $34 as well, or just a little bit over $34. So we're seeing kind of like a flat day for a lot of these stocks. So we'll see. So yeah, definitely, I mean, kind of a bit of a divergence there between the SPY and the QQQs. So if you take a look at VXN, which is going to be the volatility on the NASDAQ, this is also delayed data, so it's delayed by 10 minutes. So we should get some more numbers here in a few minutes. But let's take a look at the VIX. So VIX is coming down, right? So VIX has been selling off. So that's the inverse correlation between the volatility on the S&P and the S&P itself. It's down a little bit over 3%, literally hovering at 20 levels. That's the level that we're kind of bouncing off of. So very important level to watch, the 20 level, because you guys know if you look at the daily or the monthly chart, the VIX has kind of hovered over 20 for a very long time. We did break down below that level for a brief moment, and then we're now back at and around 20 levels, and that's also driving the S&P higher. But going back over to QQQs, seeing a little bit of a bounce here, but definitely I was surprised to see a bit of a pullback at the open for the NASDAQ versus the S&P 500. So if you go on the index level, we saw a very same pullback for the NASDAQ index, and then a same push higher for the S&P 500 index. So yields, let's take a look at yields. So Dow Jones is up over 90 basis points. So again, it's kind of like one of those days where value is picking up and value is surging. So this right here is going to be the Dow Jones. Pushing higher aggressively, and of course at the expense of NASDAQ, which is the only sector like in the middle that is down. What do you guys think about that? NDX trying to turn, Harry, I agree. It's trying to turn, but it's struggling at the moment. Russell 2000's up over 64 basis points, so that small cap sector is up. This right here is going to be the complete breakdown of different sectors. So let's take a look at the 1 day. Energy and financials, no doubt about that, they're continuing to push up. Energy is up over 1.5%, and financials up over 1%. And in the middle, we've got materials, industrials, healthcare, and utilities. 4 sectors that are kind of flat on the day. With technology, we got the consumer staples, real estate, and consumer discretionary that's also, or cyclical, so to speak, which includes Amazon and Tesla, that are down on the day, right? So all these sectors down below, so right here, are down on the day. These right here are kind of flat so far, and of course energy and financials are handsomely outperforming all these other sectors on the day. So Tesla is red. So yeah, we're definitely seeing a bit of a pullback here, down about 9 basis points. Again, struggling at 590 to hold up above that level. NEO's coming down over 1.25%. Apple's now down 0.5%, now close to 126. And Palantir is also pulling back. What other stocks are we going to look into, right? What other stocks should we add to this 4-hour chart? Or do you want to split this even further? Let's split this 6-way. So we got more stocks that we can look at. All right, so we'll kind of add Amazon. Four-for-one stock split. 4-for-1 stock split for Nvidia. Okay, so that's probably the news that actually just came out. Let me pull up Nvidia here in one of these charts. So up over 2%, but we're definitely seeing a bit of a pullback, and this was probably announced at 9 a.m. Eastern. Let me see if I can find that very quickly. Oh wow, okay. Nvidia proposes a 4-for-1 stock split. That's big news. That is big news for Nvidia. So, all right, let's take a look. So distributed after the close of trading on July 19th. So said Friday that its board of directors approved a 4-for-1 stock split of its common stock in the form of a stock dividend. The computer systems design service company said that the move would make the stock ownership more accessible to investors and employees. If approved, each Nvidia shareholder of record at the close of business June 21st will receive a dividend of 3 additional shares of every share held, which will be distributed after the close of trading on July 19th. Okay, so June 21st is kind of like the cutoff date, and July 19th is when it'll be distributed. It's always strange when prices move up on stock splits, right? Like last year we saw Apple and Tesla, the two big names that rallied and added on like hundreds of billions of dollars of market cap simply based on stock split news, when the underlying fundamentals of the business don't really change, but it's simply the stock price that becomes more accessible. But that being said, I mean, again, this is great. This is big news. If Nvidia kind of stays up here at close to 600, then we're looking at 125, 600 divided by 4. That's going to be roughly $150 dollars per share is what we can expect from Nvidia, is where it's going to probably trade moving forward, which is going to be very, very different, because I've always seen Nvidia at close to around $500, $600 per share, and then watching it just trade very similar to the prices, not the market cap, but prices at close to Apple, is going to be very, very different. But Tesla bouncing off the lows here at close to 589, just shy of 590. What do you guys think? Are we going to see a breakout over $590? Enphase has done a great recovery over the past days. Would love for you to do a technical analysis. Enphase, long-term bullish on that company as well. It's just the market environment that we're in. I'll do a technical analysis on that stock very quickly. So ENPH, we sold off aggressively for Enphase, right? We sold off all the way down to lows of 118. And this right here is kind of like a descending triangle. $130 is going to be a support, and 174 or 175 is going to be a resistance to watch for Enphase moving forward. So we'll put that on the list very quickly. Support at 130, and resistance is going to stay put at 175. So Tesla's now green again. So NIO back over 34. Apple is just shy of 127. That's the level that we have talked about as a support or a resistance. We'll see if that level holds up. Palantir, $21 is going to be the level to watch. And Tesla, again, just shy of 590. That's the level that's going to be very important for Tesla moving forward. Oh, Rita says that's what I posted earlier regarding the Nvidia. Okay. I may have missed that, so thank you so much for posting that. All right, so let's take a look at what else can we take a look at. So SPY and QQQs. Still, the Nasdaq still struggling a little bit on the day. The Dow Jones is pulling back, still up over 75 basis points, and the S&P 500 up almost 0.5%. So Twilio, somebody asked for it earlier. Twilio is still a stock that's kind of struggling at 320. This again was a stock that we covered in our yesterday's update. We covered Twilio, CrowdStrike, and Palantir. So we had a head and shoulders pattern for Twilio, and then we broke it down from this neckline below 320. Didn't quite make it down to 266, but we did come down to 275 before pushing higher. The RSI, the MACD, became incredibly oversold as well. So we're seeing a bit of a bounce higher. But $320, this right here is going to be the level to watch as a resistance for the stock moving forward. So we'll put that on the list. Support at 275, and the resistance is going to stay put at 320 for this company. We'll kind of move this up a little bit. Although this is also a support from previously, we'll kind of add this new support at close to 275. So we need Tesla 590 on this move up. Tesla falling to get over 590. Here it could send it lower. Let's take a look. So 588, 588.67. NEO still over $34, so that's the level that we need to watch. And let's add Amazon here to take a quick look. So Amazon at 32.37, down about 30 basis points. So yeah, I mean, for Amazon, that's why I didn't want to turn it into a support, because I knew there was going to be some type of a pullback for Amazon, because it's a very shaky sort of price action for Amazon, with spreads between the bids and the ask always being really, really high. But for Nvidia, we're seeing a bit of a rally here pre-market and then a pullback, and right now we're still up over 2.87%, over $600 per share on this news. Palantir is making some moves, up over 1%, so we're seeing a bit of a push higher for Palantir. Let's take a look at AMD. AMD is also down slightly, so down about 25 basis points. So Roblox is running. Let's take a look. So look at that. Roblox definitely up over 7%. Let's go over to dailies very quickly so you have a good understanding. So Roblox is probably making a new all-time high, and I think it's actually not quite an all-time high. The all-time high sits at 83.41. So I think they announced their earnings, so May 11th was the day, so it's been a while, but let's take a look at their earnings just for the sake of it. So Roblox doubles revenues following stock market debut. An online gaming developer that went public in March more than doubled its revenue in the first quarter as it continued to benefit from the pandemic, limitations, and outdoor entertainment on social interactions. Sales increased to $387 million during the 3 months ending in March, from $161.6 million. Analysts polled by Capital IQ had expected revenues of $572 million. That's a huge miss for sales from Roblox. But nonetheless, the company, which was included in the Time magazine's inaugural list in the world, said 79% year-over-year growth in the average daily users of 42.1 million was driven by a surge in customers outside the US and Canada, popularity among new users over the age of 13. So nevertheless, the soaring number of daily active users helped produce a 161% increase in the bookings to 652.3 million in the quarter. So I'm just trying to see. Okay, so revenue was definitely a huge miss. Free cash flow, which is based on data including bookings, grew more than 4 times to 142.1 million, and the EPS reported a net loss of close to 46 cents per share, wider than the loss of 44 cents a year ago, and the price target from JP Morgan is at $85. And right now it's at $82.45. Definitely seeing a bit of a breakout here from Roblox. So it could be a technical breakout. Again, there could be some news that's not showing up on TradingView just yet. But that right there, kind of like a $78 resistance we were seeing for Roblox, that we're seeing a breakout over right now from a technical standpoint, and definitely up over 7.6%. One pastor says, "Come on, Tesla." Yeah, Tesla's still at 590 right now. 591, 590, kind of hovering around those levels. Palantir, on the other hand, making some moves up over 1.8%. Almost trading back over $21. We'll see if that level continues to kind of hold up. But this right here is the analysis on Palantir from our previous videos, from yesterday's videos actually. So $21 is the resistance that we need to see a breakout over. We're still in the downtrending channel. We're still making lower highs and lower lows here. So, that's important to note and be mindful of, that we could see some rejection and resistance at these lower highs from Palantir moving forward. It closed at 22.75. So Apple's red, down about 32 basis points. NEO still holding up above 34. Tesla over 590, that's the level to watch. Roblox is up over 7.8%. AMD is finally green, up over 17 basis points. And Palantir up over 1.5%. All right, let's take a look at here. So Fiverr's up over 6%, back over $180. Tattooed Chef has had quite a bit of a run this week, up over 4%. We got Unity Software that's up over 3. Nvidia's back over $602, now 603 here. Boeing's up over 3%. So where's Boeing? Right here. So over $234 on the Max 737 news that we broke down earlier pre-market. Riot, DraftKings, Mara, they're all up 2% each. Palantir almost up 2%. Snowflake is up over 1.64%. Snowflake is also, one of those stocks that is trading at a very high price to sales ratio, right? When we looked at, yesterday when we broke down Palantir and CrowdStrike and some of those software as a service companies, Snowflake kind of stands out with the price to sales ratio, right? But nonetheless, we're still up on the day, but we're still down, I think year to date, and from like our all-time highs, would sit at well over $400 per share for Snowflake. So ChargePoint is up over 1.5%. We got Lemonade that's up over 1.5%. Bitcoin back over 41,200, but 42,000 is going to be the level to watch very closely. Waiting for Palantir to go green. 23 is my average. Palantir is green on the day, but yeah, a little bit off that $23 level. But again, we've got very few stocks that are in the red. We've only got like Procter & Gamble a little bit. Amazon slightly, still struggling at 32.41. So we'll see if Amazon actually breaks out over 32.50. That's going to be the level to watch for Amazon. And we got Apple, Facebook, and Baidu and Zoom that are down. And TSM is also down. Actually, TSM, somebody asked for that analysis. So Tesla over 590. We got AMD now back over $78. We got Palantir that's just a little bit under 20, close to over 21. Apple still needs to make some moves here. It's struggling at 127. NEO at well over 34.50. So we're seeing a bit of a continuation from yesterday, and Tesla's also trying to stay up there, up over 1% here. All right, TSM, we're gonna break that down, put some support resistance levels, and right now we're seeing that resistance come into play at close to $113, still trading inside this downtrending channel for TSM. So keep a close eye at 113 for TSM moving forward, and the support is gonna stay put at $107 per share. So TSM support is going to be $107 and resistance at 113 that we need to watch. And right now we are again getting rejected at that level, seeing a little bit of a lower high and lower low, still in that downtrending channel, getting rejected by those moving averages. So, all right, so NEO is up over 0.5%. Palantir definitely pushing higher. Roblox is up over 8.5% now. What do you guys think? Is it going to make a new all-time high today? Harry, I really appreciate that donation. Really, really appreciate you. Thank you so much for your support. Square was covered earlier, yes. Thank you so much for mentioning that. But, very quickly, let's take a look at where it's trading. $207, $208, kind of like hovering around those levels. 215 is the resistance. 200 is the support for Square that we can watch moving forward. So Twilio seeing a bit of a breakout over 320, so that's good. The 21 EMA is right there, so if you can see some more continuation pattern or a follow through for the stock, we could see a successful breakout over $320.
Also, we're going to be okay in terms of higher yields, and inflation break-evens don't need to rise as much. That's one part of the story. Bitcoin, we'll get to this more in a second, up by 3%. What a week for Bitcoin. I mean, TGIF for a Bitcoin long investor. Let's just put it that way. They really want to get to this Friday. And crude up by almost 3% after getting hit pretty hard. It was a little mushy, I should say, a week for crude because those solid PMI numbers, Guy, from services to manufacturing to the composite. I mean, we're talking record numbers and record input costs, Guy.
Yeah, there was some suggestion that maybe what you'd start to see here, Alex, was a sort of a tapering off in terms of the growth rate that we've seen. You get the bounce back trade, you get the reopening trade, you get the catch-up trade. Then that starts to fade off. Today's data, particularly the services PMI numbers, are absolutely incredible. And they really point to the fact that we're still in the acceleration phase. Let's get some more details as to what we learned from those PMI numbers. Let's get to Bloomberg's Mike McKee.
Well, Guy, I don't know if you're a bird watcher, but this is kind of the rara avis of the numbers that we get in here. I mean, the PMI for services up to 71. That's never happened before in the history of the series. We also see a big rise in the manufacturing number in the United States, and we thought, because it fell back a little bit last month, that we had reached the best, and now we still see more going forward. And that follows what's been happening in Europe. You could say that maybe April showers bring May flowers, because the European PMI is also flowering. You can see how they've pretty much gone up across the board, and there's some 60s in there. These are among the highest numbers recorded for those as well as we come back from the pandemic. And we'll finish up with the UK, because not only did you have extraordinary retail sales today, but the PMIs for the British Isles show a very big increase in manufacturing services and the composite. Things are getting much, much better. But as
so, yeah, SPY actually pushed up even more, up over 60 basis points. Harry, I really appreciate that. So one fast Model S Plaid being announced for June. Yes, so we covered that in our yesterday's video. Very, very positive news for Tesla as well, with the potential production deliveries starting very, very early. So, all right. Says, love your content. I've seen some guys saying that a financial crisis will come and it will be worse than 2008. What do you think about this? So that's oh, sorry, what happened there? All right, there we go. So that's a great question, and I want your guys' answer on this as well. You know, what do you guys think about that question? About somebody mentioning about a financial crisis that will be worse than 2008. And what do you guys think? I would love to hear from you guys. Let me know in the live chat as well. I strongly believe that there's some risks to the U.S. economy and the markets that we need to consider. In my opinion, the biggest risk comes from having the debt levels and the bond market. That is going to be something that we need to keep a close eye on, that we need to monitor very closely. When it comes to valuations, when it comes to inflation, interest rate, taxes, labor market, those are all day-to-day macro stuff that we can analyze and the market can absorb and continue to be resilient, right? Whether it be higher than expected inflation, whether it be lower than expected jobless claims or unemployment numbers, or taxes or interest rate or tapering. Those things, in my opinion, are not strong enough to cause any type of a financial crisis, so to speak. Again, really depends on your definition of a financial crisis. I'm excuse me, I'm expecting that to be like a crash in the markets or a recession in the economy. That, in my opinion, history of the United States has shown us that it's been very, very resilient, right? The only thing that I would monitor very closely from a risk standpoint is the debt levels, the debt to GDP of the United States, and where we sit with the bond market, right? With the 10-year notes, the 30-year notes, where the demand sets for U.S. debt. That's what's going to drive yields either higher or lower. Palantir breaking out over 21. Let's take a look here. So, all right, so we're seeing a bit of a push higher. Tesla still hovering around 590. NIO up over 34.48. Palantir breaking out over $21. Apple still hovering around 127. That's the support level that we need to watch. And AMD's up over $78 per share, up over 39.40 basis points. So one fast source says if financial crisis happens, you write it out just like I did in 2008. So yeah, I mean, that's a great point. You know, of course, there's a lot of stats that you can look at since the dot-com bubble. You know, it took 10 or 15 years for a lot of companies to, you know, recover. But that, in my opinion, was also driven a lot based on euphoria and a concept versus now that the market has a lot of earnings potential and fundamentals behind the breadth of the market, right? A lot of these companies are generating hundreds of billions of dollars, and it's actually good that the NASDAQ and S&P 500 is basically controlled or influenced by the big tech names, because big tech are the strongest companies in the world, and if they are able to generate hundreds of billions of dollars in revenue, that's only good for the earnings potential, the fundamental valuations for the indexes. So we can always get these valuation resets. They can always come down, you know, in this risk-off environment. We can always come down a little bit, 10, maybe 15%. We can correct ourselves. The valuations become more attractive. The new money flows in, and we push back up to new all-time highs. You know, that's always going to happen. But in my opinion, for there to be a crash or a recession or anything like that, there has to be fundamentally something wrong with the underlying economy of the U.S., of the United States. And that I don't personally think that's going to happen. So yeah, I mean, panic selling, you know, like Fastbuster also mentioned and Harry's also mentioning, panic selling is never good. I mean, you know, you always want to have a sound strategy, have a level head in the markets, because things are always going to go up and down like crazy. And it was just yesterday I was looking at a quote from somebody that basically said, you know, when markets go crazy, make sure that you don't. Because it's very easy for our emotions to kind of flood our judgment and our decision making. And, you know, at least I try to. Sometimes I fail, but it's always important to look at the data, what the underlying markets are telling you, as opposed to simply based on the price action. Because price action can be very, very flawed. It can be very flawed. If you look at something going up, like Palantir's right now, $21 breaking out over 2% on the day, this can be very flawed, right? It gives us a good understanding on entry and exit points, but it doesn't give us a good understanding of the fundamentals of the business or the underlying or anything like that. So always important to do those analysis and research as well. All right, so I'm gonna probably cut the live stream here very quickly. If there's any stocks that we're gonna go over very quickly, let's take a look at skills and identify some levels on the day. So, all right. So this right here is going to be the complete technical breakdown. Again, we are consolidating sideways, but 1250 is going to be the level to watch for skills. And resistance is going to stay put at 2150. TSM we already covered over here. So $113 resistance, $107 support for TSM. So LAZR. I'm not sure if I've actually analyzed this chart, but so Tim Cook is also taking the stand in Apple versus Epic case, which is also very interesting. So, you know, that could be one of the reasons why Apple is just going sideways right now at close to 127. So you'll notice that we are down a little bit over 127. And again, the biggest concern with that is how Apple takes a commission or a fee from their users, from some of their app developers and publishers, and of course we've covered that in our previous videos. I don't personally see that the ruling to be against Apple. It would be very shocking if it is, but it's also going to materially impact Apple's core business of services and subscriptions and fees, which is also trading at a much higher multiple, which makes up the market cap for Apple. So we'll kind of reassess and readjust. I'll see if I can find any type of content that's being streamed or any type of listening in on the Tim Cook's stand, or any notes that we can find, because again, it's going to be very important for Apple shareholders. All right, for Luminar Technologies, keep a close eye at 1975. That right there is going to be support level to watch. And a resistance, we're going to call it at close to, I want to say 25.75, because that right there is the previous resistance, and we're also kind of making these lower highs forming some type of a descending triangle for this stock. So if you can see a breakout over this resistance at close to 25.75, then we can see a trend reversal, and for us to see some more higher highs and higher lows, being formed for the stock moving forward, and that would result in a trend reversal for the stock as well. So resistance is going to stay put at 25.75, close to these levels, or 26.30. So 26.30, we'll call that there. Yeah, so a couple more stocks we're going to look over very, very quickly. Make sure that you guys drop a like. It really helps out the channel. All right, Hyliion. Let's take a look at it for Eric. So Hyliion, $10 is now going to start acting as a resistance, right? And this right here is going to be support. This is not a stock that I'm actually following on a fundamental basis or doing my regular research on. We did some technical analysis on this stock on some previous live streams. But this right here is going to be a more near-term resistance at close to $10 a share. And we traded all the way as low as $7.95, so $8. Quite unfortunate for the stock, I would say that, because we've come down from highs of $54. I mean, this happened in a matter of like months since September. Like literally in September, it was trading as high as $58. Came down like 86%. So very, very unfortunate about that for Hyliion. And again, the earnings were announced. Let me see if they have any earnings there. So May 20th, Hyliion selected by Detmar Logistics to support fleet electrification. So provider of electrification or electric powertrains technology said Thursday it has been selected by Detmar Logistics for the electrification of its fleet of more than 100 trucks in the next 5 years. So that is a great catalyst right there to add to the top line revenues for the company. Holdings Corp says expects to recognize revenue on improved hybrid products delivered in the second half of the year. Hyliion reports quarterly net loss per share of 13 cents per share. Doesn't really go over the analyst estimates or the revenues. But that being said, keep a close eye at $10 resistance. Right now we're just hovering around those levels. That's a level that we need to see a breakout and a close above that level on the day. And 775 is going to be a support to watch. And resistance at $10 per share. All right, guys, so thank you so much for joining in. I really, really appreciate you guys. This entire list will be provided to all of our Discord members. Again, the link is going to be down in the description below if you guys want to get started. Also, make sure that you check out Webull. Deposit $100. It's absolutely free, and you will get 2 free stocks valued up to $18.50. And of course, this right here is going to be the TradingView charts. If you want to get access to that, it's absolutely free. You don't have to pay for it. The link is also going to be down in the description below. Make sure that you guys drop that like button. It really helps out the channel in a tremendous way and pushes out this stream to other people. Hope you guys have a great weekend, great day today with the markets and everything that you're doing. Stay safe, take care, and definitely let us know in the live chat in the comment section down below if there's any other tickers and stocks you want to add to our daily analysis or add to the Discord chat as well for us to look into more on a fundamental and technical basis. So thank you so much for joining in. Really appreciate you guys' support. Happy investing, and I will see you guys in the next live stream.